Hi, and welcome to the first episode of Murray's Rant. When I talk about anything that's on my mind in the run of the day, it drives me absolutely nuts. Whether it's politics, waiting in a grocery line at the store, or driving on the road. Of course, that gets everyone a little peeved once in a while. Anyway, I'm going to take the opportunity. I'm going to take the opportunity to talk about the ndp-liberal merger that they've been talking about in the news so much here in Canada. Of course, for those of you who don't know, the NDP is socialist leanings, a lot of history in the labor movement, and the Liberal Party is that old classic, so-called libertarian, classical liberal, free market economy, but with a social conscience. So they're similar in a lot of ways. There's an overlap, but otherwise there's not. Then you take the Conservatives, who generally come from more of a right-leaning, in some cases social conservative, most cases not. And then you throw in the economic aspect of it all. The smaller the government, the better, and the NDP on the other side, bigger the government, the better. So really just pick your poison. I'm not going to diss either side. That's not my job today. I'm just going to talk about one really key factor that's going to change Canadian politics a lot in the coming months and coming years. The Liberal Party, traditionally the biggest party in Canada, was decimated, absolutely annihilated. In the last election on May 2nd, 2011, the NDP, for the first time in history, blew up and exploded in Quebec with 53 seats in Quebec out of a total of 75. They're now the official opposition, the biggest official opposition in Canadian history, or recent Canadian history. So kudos to them. Anyways, what they've been talking about doing is to prevent the Conservatives, supposedly the evil Conservatives, from winning another election, is to merge both left-wing parties so they don't split the vote. Now, for those of you who know nothing about Canadian politics, that actually would make some sense, or about Canada in general. Two left-wing parties getting together, knocking off the right-wingers, those evil money grabbers, greedy people, and everything, favor the rich and the poor. Anyway, it's a little different than that. In the Liberal Party, there is an overlap of different political views, just like in the Conservative Party. Within the Conservative Party, there are left-wing believers, or more socially liberal, more fiscally conservative, but there are also, on the other side, more obviously fiscally conservative and socially conservative at the same time, very a lot of intolerant about the openness that the liberals or left-wing conservatives like. Within the Liberal Party, there's the same thing. There is in the Liberal Party, or there are in the Liberal Party, many individuals who are just as right-wing, if not more so, than a lot of members of the Conservative Party, both members of Parliament and actual card-carrying members. But there's also the left-leaning type, who could find, a spot in the NDP, but also have more in common with the left wing of the Conservative Party. So they're practically identical in a lot of ways. But the NDP is different. The NDP is very big on the labor movement, collective bargaining. They're very big on, massive government spending, large government programs, government knows best, higher taxes, but, with higher taxes, more gets paid for. But that doesn't all add up, because that doesn't match really with what goes on in the Liberal Party, which is essentially a conservative light, or a middle party. So what happens if these two similar parties are merged together? You get something that actually most people don't really realize will happen. The right-wing element of the Liberal Party will just up and walk away, because they want nothing to do, or will want nothing to do, with the New Democrats, or the NDP, and the socialist pro-labor movement, pro-large government ideas. They're in the Liberal Party either for traditional reasons. Their parents have always done so. They like fiscal conservatism with social conscience, but don't want to buy into the conservative doctrine. So they're not going to stay and let the party be run by tree-hugging left-wingers in the Liberal Party and tree-hugging left-wingers in the NDP. So what everyone's talking about merging these two parties together, who in theory are practically the same, in essence, in practicality, they're not even remotely close. And if they merge together, they're going to alienate their base and could even consolidate conservative gains and conservative support right across the country. Not that I'm complaining, but whatever. Anyway, I predict that if the NDP and the Liberals merge, that left-wing vote, which is relatively large, everyone says, well, most people didn't vote for the Conservatives in the last election. They only got 40% of the vote. Fine. But you have to remember that the Liberal vote itself, which was either squeezed by the Conservatives or the NDP, is not a non-Harper vote, it's a Liberal vote. But if the Liberals merge with the New Democrats, part of that Liberal vote will follow with them to the Conservative Party and not necessarily to the New Democrats or the new Liberal Democratic Party or whatever you want to call it. So anyway, I predict what happens, they merge together, their support will bleed to the right, and their new party will take another decade or two in order to build enough support and enough credibility to rival the Conservatives in the future. Thank you very much for tuning in today. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so, or on Facebook. And thank you for tuning in, and more to come.